When we're talking about us, I'm going to be a little bit brutal here because I'm one of you, so I think I can have this conversation with you. 87% of attorneys think that they're in the top 10%. It's kind of cute, kind of comes along with our personalities, maybe smart, driven people. Obviously, 87% of us can't be in the top 10%. I'm the exception. I don't need to do this planning. No, you're not. You're not the exception. No, I'm not. I try to do this for myself as well. Most of this doesn't apply to me. Yes, it does, but that's okay. Now, truly, if these really, you hold these dear to your heart and you're okay, go do what you do, more power to you. For the rest of us, let's continue on and realize that we can kind of, between us, get through some of those issues. When I talked about don't let perfect get in the way of good enough, or like it says here, act and then iterate, let's just look at a couple of examples here. I know we're attorneys and I know we want to be experts, but for the beginning of business development, it's okay to be okay. The SR-71, the Blackbird, the fastest plane ever built still, its fuel tanks leaked when it was on the ground. And the engineers were like, you know what? This is a titanium skin. When that thing gets to 80,000 feet, the outside temperature of the skin is 1,000 degrees. It expands and the fuel tanks seal. We got to get this plane up to 80,000 feet. We know it leaks. We're not going to fix that problem because when it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, it's not a problem. Fill it up, get it in the air, refuel it, and let it go up to do what it's going to do. So it was a problem that they were able to live with because they realized what the ultimate goal was. Orville and Wilville Wright didn't have pilot licenses. I love that one. If they'd waited around for it, what's a pilot license? What's powered flight? The first Seinfeld episode, if you ever go back and watch that, and there are business cases in business schools that talk about Seinfeld and track Seinfeld as an improving business. It wasn't that great. They certainly got better after the first season. So you know what? Here's 3 examples of it's okay to be okay. Remember, you're working with this foundation, right? You have a big picture of goals, system, and good habits. What does a good business development habit look like? This is what your 15-minute-a-week session might look like. And this is in the takeaways in more detail, but let's sit here for a second. I want a quiet place. I want to close the door. I'm going to put the phone on silent. I'm going to grab my binder. So here's my binder. Most of the attorneys I work with, it's funny. I know in this age of technology, they like to print out a binder, have tabs in it. This sits up on a shelf. And one attorney that I work with, she puts this on the corner of her desk with a Starbucks card on top of it. And every week when she does her 15-minute session, she treats herself to a Starbucks. In fact, I think I bought the first Starbucks card for her because I just love this system of not even putting it on a shelf, having it right there on the desk. She got asked a lot of questions and answered a lot of questions and piqued a lot of interest in what she was doing. It might have 5 tabs on it: your business development plan, the worksheets from these sessions, the ones for this 15-minute week session, and the weekly actions and results. However you want to organize that. 5 tabs might work great. The first 3 tabs, when you're in your session, all right, let me scan through this. What did I say I was going to do in my business development plan? It's 9 pages. You can flip through it in 20 seconds. What were my realm of all possibilities like? And you know what I'm talking about. We'll spend some time on the worksheets in a moment because you already have them. What were all the things that I was thinking would move me along? What was my connections sheet looking like? Ooh, am I moving people along there? And then what are my actions for this week? Scan through those first 3 tabs, review them. Let's talk about how these 3 actions should lay out for you. When one of your goals or one of the things that you want to do is have lunch with Sally Smith over at the Chamber of Commerce, because I want to get on the board next year. A weekly action would be email Sally, see if she has time for lunch next Wednesday. Don't put on your weekly actions, have lunch with Sally Smith about getting on the board next week. Because just having lunch involves a first email, deciding on a place, deciding on what time, going and having lunch, getting the board packet from her, coming back to the office and saying thank you. All of those would be little weekly actions in different weeks, most likely. So I'm not trying to make it too granular or make it too participation trophy-ish, but don't put big, huge mandates as your 3 weekly actions. Chunk those down and break those down into the things that move those along in a small action for that week. You want to review what you did last week? And you want to see, okay, I completed all 3 of them. Oh, one of them I didn't get done and it needs to come over to this week. I think in the takeaways I say, obsess about achieving all 3 actions each week and kind of get upset with yourself in a healthy way. Dang it, I keep letting some of these lag. You know why? Because I'm spending 6 minutes or I'm not spending the time at all. It's okay, regroup, retrench, review last week's actions, develop 3 new actions for this week, record any successes, and there's a column right on there. And this, again, sounds very Montessori-ish or whatever. Sorry if any of you have kids in Montessori. I didn't mean it that way. A small little success. Email Sally about lunch next Wednesday. Hey, she responded, we're going to have, all right, check off success and take myself to Starbucks. It sounds kind of silly, but really, we as humans, as people, as business people, as lawyers, thrive on small successes. It really perpetuates success begets success. The little ones become bigger ones, become great big ones. But if you have the opportunity to just say, hey, I completed all 3 things this week. It's Miller time, or whatever works for you. So do these now when you're in the session. All of this is how you're doing your actual 15-minute session. Do these steps before any BD actions like emails or calls, and then celebrate, as I just mentioned. I want to point out something about time here, and I mentioned it in a couple of the other sessions. When we were going through the business plan for lawyers and your business plan together, or when you were doing it, and you said, I'm going to 2 conferences, I'm publishing 1 newsletter, I'm going to speak at a practice group meeting, I'm going to go to these quarterly chamber luncheons, and you added up all the time, you said, wow, I really am going to be doing 100 hours outside the office in business development activities this year, or activities. This 15 minutes is not replacing that 100 hours or 50 hours or whatever it's going to be. This 15 minutes, as you see here, is to keep you on track for the things that you're trying to do. It's kind of like project management for yourself. So I've had people that haven't been through this session, you're telling me that I can grow my business by only spending 15 minutes a week? Well, you can. That's part of it. Now, what are all the other things that you want to do? Well, if I go to a 2-day conference, that's 12 hours right there. So that's how many of my weeks have I just knocked off by going to that two-day conference. It doesn't work like that. You're still doing those things, but rather than having the organization of it, the project management of it, the before, during, and after of it, all random and in your mind, this is your opportunity to stay focused and stay on track on the activities that are going to move you forward.